Oh, forgot my tennis ball.
Don't worry, it's a walk-off.
Dude, Red Sox are 1-0. I'm not going to go 0-162.
Yeah, my Braves are 1-0. Actually, I don't even know.
Yeah, Braves. Yeah. What? Do you just throw a dart at the map for your baseball team? What baseball team did you pick?
Look, Tom Glavine. Okay. Greg Maddux. Okay. John Smoltz. Okay. I grew up at that time. That was my team. Again, I grew up I was a military kid. I moved everywhere. I had no allegiances. Clark.
Biggest underachievers of the 90s, man. You look at that lineup. How'd they only get one World Series out of that team?
Okay, once again, judgment. Yo, the judgment today? Holy jeez.
Hey, I'm fired. I'm fired up this week. I'm fired up today. You better be on alert, Kevin. Everyone in the chat, be on alert.
One sec.
I'm fired up.
You know what? Since Clark is talking ish. Clark, Mr. I know my baseball. Who's this?
Oh,
go.
But no, are you trying to be a lefty?
Nope, I'm a righty.
Sammy Sosa.
Gary Sheffield? Come on. Okay. See?
Yeah, that's right.
Sports fans. I was out there for you guys, sports fans. All right, show's over. That was good. So
I feel like he swung the bat a little harder. And it looked more like a Sammy Sosa when you
did. The show's definitely over. The show is definitely.
Dude, spicy today. Okay, I need a Tommy Bahama shirt.
Spice. Calm down.
On it.
Calm down. Calm down, cardamom. Okay, calm down, cinnamon. Relax.
I know. I'm getting fired up.
What are you fired up? What are you fired up about? What's popping? What's going on?
Oh man, guys.
Meme coins. Anyway.
Oh, dude, I am up, guys. No. I am up in crypto, baby.
All jokes.
I am up.
All jokes. I'm up in amount right now. I don't even want to say it out loud because I just wanted to be
Don't
real.
say it out loud then. Yeah.
I'm not. No, the only screenshot, I did this last time. In 2021, I took a lot of screenshots. And then I threw them on Twitter. And I said things. And, bull posting, no screenshots except to my wife. And she gets it. That's it.
I do it to myself because I have a hard enough time tracking what's actually going up. Like what I bought, we're like, wait, what am I actually making? Or have I bought more? Because it's like the way I have to track it. Yeah.
That's how we know how much we've made. That's right.
Yeah. I catch on quick. I'm a couple weeks in. I made a couple $100. Nothing crazy. So good. I know you've made a lot more money, but
that's all good.
Start small. I'm Billy Madison.
I'm in this space.
Yeah, I went back to first grade.
Not financial advice, but
definitely not for me. Please, no fire. But that, and just the coaching life, the agency life. I mean, look, I'm in it with everyone on here.
Agency life is going crazy. True.
Well, there's a lot. I mean, we've had some crazy shenanigans with offers, and I've never seen benefits have this much of an impact on offers and random stuff. We get the salary and all that, and I mean, it's just you really got to be really sharp. And I know a lot of industries, it's a client-driven market, and client are picky and all that. But then you got candidate-driven ones as well, right? Accounting and finance,
absolutely. Software engineering, I'm dealing with
nursing,
it right now.
All that. Yeah. So when you get someone that the industry, you get the pick of the litter, you really got to be sharp on the front end, and even that might not be enough.
It's almost. Right? It's almost like you got to be sharp on your messaging or something.
Well, we're going to talk a lot about messaging. Messaging is definitely key, but even the messaging all along, whether it's written, whether it's verbal, you have to be so clear. And what I've been, talking to recruiters this week is it's not enough to over communicating is communicating. Like everything else, it's like the Tom Coughlin, right? If for 5 minutes, if you're on time, you're late.
Well, that's the basis for our talk is. It's in your email. It's in your text messages. It's in your however you communicate. But also to your point, it's even how you think about how you're going to communicate with these people, right? And that was actually one of the stories I was going to lead off with.
Go ahead, my friend.
Go ahead. Okay, fine. Why not? Let's do it. So to talk and just to introduce a little bit about what we're going to talk today in messaging, I had a recent situation happen where the way that I thought about messaging transformed my idea of how important it is from the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
And how much it matters for the bottom line. So I was working with an awesome cutting edge tech company, Bleeding Edge. Thank you, Diane Prince. Bleeding Edge tech company, and they were looking for a blockchain organization. This was 2021, and at this time, it's still very nascent what they're looking for. And as they're describing the problem that this engineer is coming in to solve, they're telling me that there's only like probably 300 to 400 people on Earth that they believe even have the skill set to solve this. And so, a part of the process, the intake process, is like, hey, do you have anybody in mind? And they're like, actually, we have 2 people in mind that we would love to talk to, and we have been trying to get in touch with for the last 2 months. So I was like, okay, send them over. So do the due diligence, right? Look, see what messages that they've sent, and it's always the standard, right? It was the standard like, hey, we got some cool stuff going on over here. You should look at us. And they sent that over and over and over, right? So looked at the messaging, got in, looked at him, okay? Looked at his LinkedIn. There's only so much, right, that we can find on people to personalize or like do something different. Like, let's keep it real. But you have to think of all the ways that you can. So I looked at his LinkedIn. There was like nothing there. He's one of the people that put his name. I'm not gonna say. His name is John. Okay, he's one of these people that puts John is a seasoned veteran software engineer that does this, that, right? So like nothing. It's very blank. So I try to find him on social media. Nothing. No presence. Okay. Then I go to his content. He shares no content, writes no content. But what he did do was repost a lot of content. And so I went to his reposts and I was like, And I went down his feed months and months and months. And I started to notice a pattern of reposts and the type of reposts it would. And it was super nerdy. Like it was super nerdy software engineering problems. But it made me realize that this dude was just that, right? A super nerd. So I looked at a couple of the reposts that he put up there. I highlighted one of the problems where it looked like it was like it looked like it was around that issue, and that was my subject matter. That was my subject line. Hey, if you're curious about solving this problem, then wait till you see this one or something of that nature, right? Immediately he reached out to me, same day. Was like, hey, I would love to talk to you about this issue. So here's where the story actually gets crazy. He's one of, like, seriously, at that time, maybe 300 people in the world. These people had been trying to get in touch with him for 2.5 months. The problem was they were putting themselves as the hero and not the guide. And I did my due diligence to find out what would intrigue him. And then it did.
How long did that due diligence take you?
It took me a week. Because I tried to find his socials. He had like some Reddit posts. He had done a couple Quora things here and there, but there was like, I was just trying to find what it was. I couldn't find any trend, I couldn't find anything sticky where I was like, oh, that's it. Until I started noticing the repost that had a little bit, there was something tangible there, something to feed off. So anyway,
I mean, now you saved everyone a week of time.
But here's where it got even crazier. So this gentleman knows this position in this role so well, okay? The organization, like the software engineers that are at the organization come from Google, well-trained, smart, some of the smartest people in the world. But even they weren't sure kind of what they needed. I had a discussion with him. It was a 20-minute discussion. When we started, he's like, hey, Kevin, by the way, I read the job description. Y'all don't even need me. Oh, by the way, this is a Series A startup that's just getting going, right? So they're just figuring things out. He's like, hey, by the way, you don't even need me. I know what your problem is. Here's what you actually need. And for the next 20 minutes, He literally told me the position I needed, the problem we were solving, and how we were going to solve it. Let me tell you, he spoke above my head. I was just typing. I sent that message to the founders over at mind blown. And they were like, Kevin, stop what you're doing immediately. I had screwed myself. I'm not going to lie. I just messed up my whole recruiting thing, right? He was like, stop what you're doing. We're not recruiting on this role. 3 days pass. They have their little meetings. They come back to me like, okay, we're ready. But we're not doing this $250,000 role. We're going to do this $100,000 role. So here's what happened. This dude knew that role, that company, and their problem so well because he'd been working on it for 20 years that he literally schooled them on the actual person. They didn't need his level yet. They needed to work their way with a junior engineer that could get them up to this place to where then they would need to pay $350,000 for him, but not yet. These people were prepared to pay $350,000 for this dude. Instead, they get to pay $100,000, work their way there. Oh, and by the way, they literally called me last week, and that is the role I'm currently working on right now for that role, which they are now ready for as an organization to take on. And that's the power of messaging.
It's so good. What a great story. Well done.
Thank you.
Shared.
Thank you.
Great. You're a great storyteller. I know I was a little spicy in the beginning, but
I like spicy. It's Friday. Yeah. Fridays are for spice.
Yeah, you're a great storyteller. That's which again, messaging, right? I mean, there is so much to unpack. If anyone's paying attention, I mean, what are your thoughts in the comments? Do you guys have similar stories like that? I'd definitely be curious to hear.
Yes,
throw stuff in the comments.
That's a great point. Also, if you have similar stories that you ever just love us to talk about on the show, please DM us. We'd love to, sometimes we talk about quirky things, but sometimes we're seriously curious. And if there's anything like anonymously, maybe you have a story that you want us to highlight that we could talk about and go over and maybe give you advice on. We'd be happy to talk about it anonymously too. So,
send us in the DMs. Any good stories you have, like with candidate stories, hiring managers, we love talking about this stuff. Yeah, we won't say your name or anything else like that. Just kind of stories that you share because there are so many good ones and everyone has their own.
We're not that spicy.
It's like, what's that?
We're not that spicy. Chain goes out. We're spicy. We're not that spicy. Chain in.
No chain. I got my sweater on. My Mr. Rogers today. But it's going back to the story. I love the comment section, the repost. I mean, who thinks of that, right? And I love that. I mean, how active we are on LinkedIn. I know this was a little bit before, but you were still active, and it could still take a week to click. But you didn't just rush to get the message out. Taking a step back, hearing the client problem, knowing that they've already reached out, being thoughtful about the next reach out that person gets representing this company, because it means everything. Like, you knew that. And again, you took the time, whether you communicated that with the client, I'm going to do this the right way, but just let me do my thing. Like, I got it. And it takes a few days sometimes to figure it out. That's why we talked about earlier this week or last week, right? Stop putting yourself in a 48-hour window to have the perfect candidate. If it takes 7 to 10 days, take 7 to 10 days.
There's something really interesting about that right there. And there's a metaphor to sports that we talk about where, so like I was playing basketball yesterday and I'm now 37. I'm decently nice at basketball. When I was younger, I could get rushed. Like, I could get rushed into doing things. Now that I'm older, you're on my time. You are on my time. I know exactly where I want to go, and I know how I'm going to get there. And so now it's like I can see the game differently now. And that's at that point, I mean, 2 months ago, now that we talk about the hero and the guide and what we know about the emotional internal problems that we're solving versus the external, I knew how to solve that, right? Because the game is slower for me. So to the point about being an expert and a consultant, right? When we're talking to hiring managers, it's being able to, again, slow down to speed up. That's exactly what I consulted them on. It was like, yo, guys, you probably burned a bridge. Like, let's keep it real. If you've been messaging for 2 months and he hasn't responded, you've burnt a bridge. So now I gotta, when I message him, I have to figure out a way to intrigue him past the bridge burnt, right? Now, also, when he sees my message, he doesn't know that I'm affiliated with this company. So that also worked out too. But the moment that he does, he might have a right. So we have to, so it was finding a way to slow down, to speed up. To your point, I didn't want to rush a message out there. And I wanted to figure out what was that thing, because there had to be a thing that I had to find, or else I'm going to sound just like them.
But you also, whether you knew it or not, and you probably did consciously, you weren't going into it, oh, he's the perfect fit. They might have been,
Gosh, no. Yeah,
but
no.
you weren't.
Yes, right.
You were going, I just need him to reveal himself.
Correct, right.
And that is the goal of
Ooh,
messaging.
that's
I
a good
know
point.
it's so hard
That's a good point.
because you get the training, you get the KPIs. Where's the submittal? Why haven't you made a placement? I get all that. You get the owners, you got leadership up your ass. Like, I get all that stuff. But the goal is to reveal, have candidates and clients reveal where they're at and what they're thinking. And you gather intel, gather information, because this person wasn't the right person at the time, and do it now. That's a unique story in terms of like, will it always happen that way? No, but the process revealed the information and the intel that the company was lacking and didn't know how to get. And so then you, Kevin, has shown himself immensely valuable. You completely cemented yourself. You had the opportunity to do it and you did it. The more, imagine doing that with 10 companies, 20 companies, 30 companies, of course, your career that look at you that way. That's all it is.
And to that point, I took that lesson and I used it. So now I'm working on that exact role. I mean, if I'll try to, let me see. Maybe you can't. No, it's okay. You can't.
But you also have a strategy to always go back to because you slowed
100%.
it down.
100%.
And then when you do something that works, you can always go back to the well. Is it going to work 100% of the time? But now it's a tool in your arsenal.
So there you go. That's actually a good point. I found something that works and I'm not afraid to double down on it. So what I found that worked was, and I never consciously thought about it. I'm sure plenty of people out there have, but I never consciously thought about just the engineering part, right? And that they already make damn good money. And that most of my conversations with them, honestly, is like they just want to work on cool shit. Like they know they're going to make good money, right? So they just want to solve problems. So my best performing subject line now, as a result of what I learned, is I wonder if solving this engineering problem would interest you. That's like, it's a 58% open rate. It's a 39% reply rate. Like
that's a great, tell me more. Or no, that's child's play.
And then, so I think but then also, right, let's take it a step further. I couldn't say that same thing to probably a marketing manager where money is more important, right? I probably have to lead more with the money part of the compensation part or with other aspects because, I know marketing enough to know that oftentimes it's not that you're working on cutting edge things or like these innovative, right? It's more of a job.
Make sure HubSpot doesn't break.
100%, right? So you really have to think about your audience, what their role is, the work they're going to be doing day to day. Like, think about this, y'all. I say this, and I really want you guys to think about this. I say this to every single one of my hiring managers because this is why I'm a damn good consultant. You are about to hire somebody that's going to spend 8 to 12 hours of their day at your organization or working on your organization's problems. Make sure whatever message you send them makes them think that you give a shit about that. No, like seriously, like think about that. They're about to spend 8 hours of their day away from their family, away from the things they want to do. What's a message that's going to resonate with that person? That's how I think about it.
These are really deep levels of thinking about it.
Probably.
But that's the most successful. You want to save time. You want to be efficient. You don't want to have to, this is the way you don't have to spend on thousands of InMails and all these different tools. You got to get good at this and it makes everything easier.
So we were in our Thursday session yesterday and we were talking about sourcing. So our Thursday sessions at Digital Recruiter, we talk content. So we had our recruiters that are in our cohort in there, and we're talking about sourcing and the different methods, the Boolean methods, and all this. Right, the best sourcing tool and I know I say this, I'm going to add something to it. The best sourcing tool I've ever found personally is empathy plus authenticity. I'm going to add that third thing that I've come to realize is also important, which is the standing out. It's personality. Empathy, aka understanding people's worldview, stepping in their shoes and being able to walk in it and like not judging. Authenticity, being yourself, speaking from your tone of voice, right? Your knowledge, your experience, your wisdom. And then personality, right? Like a little, I got to figure out a way to stand out. To Diane Prince's point about cutting edge, now, by the way, in my engineering messages now, instead of cutting edge, I put bleeding edge. Absolutely, because that's different. It's a little different way to say the same thing. It's both nostalgic and fresh. Like, what are these ways that you can think more deeply about the human being, y'all?
And it's a little pattern interruption on what they're used to seeing. And that's why if you do put yourself in someone else's shoes and you are authentic and asking the right questions, inject your personality, you get all the intel. Do you work with other recruiters? How are they reaching out to you? Why are we talking and you're not talking to other recruiters? And yada yada. Like, just learn your market, and that helps you get better going forward with your messaging versus being so transactional with like, I got a rec, I got to fill a rec. Like, again, you can still be fast, but still slow down, right? The whole slow, smooth is fast, right? Like that whole situation, because then you can learn and get better. Because I think a lot of the issue I hear with recruiters is like they're sick of the grind and then get burnt out. It's like, because a lot of times like they're not using the day to day to evolve their game and think
Wait,
bigger
what do you
picture.
mean by that? What do you mean by that?
Well, it's like, take a candidate screen, right? Do you just talk to the candidate about the role and just talk for 20 minutes? Why are we on the phone? Why are you looking at the call? Or even while they are talking about where they were at, do you find out, well, how did you get that job? Was it through an agency? Was it direct? Right? Like, how much are you squeezing out of the call like a sponge? Right? And then you could potentially get a lead. You could learn more. Like, there's so many things you could learn in 20 minutes. The best recruiters get way more out of their 20 minutes than an average one.
So I don't know if this is
Compound
different.
effect.
Like, I haven't talked to enough recruiters to know if my process is different. I just know the results I get because of how much I care about the human being on the other, whoever it is, whether it's my client or the candidate, whoever's in front of me is the most important person in the world because they think that.
Well,
no, it's true because they think that though.
No. I'm not saying that. The reason we're going to engage here is because there's a lot of people that are like, I care about candidates more than other people and all that.
Well,
it's actually not.
Let me explain that real quick, so that you can have some background.
But I know what you're trying to say. I'm just clarifying for the audience. All I'm saying is, I think I lost my train of thought, because it's not. It is about them. We've covered that piece of it. It's the only thing that matters is getting them to, in a sense, kind of reveal where they're at, right? So it's not the most important person, but right now it's like, I got to figure out like how to get you to respond and to reveal. So it's that's the most important thing to do, but they're not necessarily the most important person. I think that I'm just saying more of like a mindset, because sometimes what I hear, they're the most important person, that can take a lot of emotional toll. Like, oh, I have to care this much about all these people. I'm like, it's not really that. It's actually
Not all
trust
these
the
people.
process.
Just that. But let me give you a different frame. I'm gonna disagree and commit because
headhunting is a little different.
It's only in that span of time, right? So if it's 20 minutes, and here's why. Here's why, Clark.
Oh, fair. Being present.
Because they think it. That's the only reason why. Because the moment that you're 5 minutes late for our 20-minute call, I'm like, what the? Because I'm the most important person on your schedule at that time.
Being present, I think, is what we're trying to get to.
Exactly. That's exactly what I mean. So to your point of what you
said both earlier,
about using that time you have, being present, them being the most important person. Let me give you an example. Again, I don't necessarily think this is novel by any means, but when I start a call with a candidate, I literally start the call by asking them how they would like to start the call. And my spiel kind of goes like this. My intention is not to take too much of your time today, but I want to go over the role, find out what it is you're looking for, and then just see if it makes sense to have the chat next with the hiring manager or whoever it is we're looking for. But before we start this chat, I'd love to start it at wherever you want. I'm happy to talk compensation, talk benefits, or talk wherever it is that you want to start at.
And what does that do for them?
Then I give them the option, or I say, or if you'd like, I can just dive in, talk about the organization. So wherever you want, but I want to give them the option.
What does it do when the first thing they bring up, what does that signal to you?
Exactly. That's the reveal. Thank you. So the reason I do that is because it makes them reveal immediately without them realizing it, because I gave them an option, right? So like all I did was open up 2 doors and I allowed them to walk into a door.
So what have you revealed? Yeah, because I know, but yeah, I want to hear it. Yeah.
So it reveals what's most important and what I should be solving for this person. Yes, there's going to be a little bit of selling, right? But what I'm trying to solve is whatever pain point, right? So let's say they say they want to talk compensation. Then I want to dive into compensation and figure out what part of the compensation is important to you. Is it the benefits? Is it the base pay? Is it the equity? Is it, right? Because it gives me a signal that lets me know what's the most important thing to you.
To make sure that, so you can be efficient with your time and know what to address first, right? And all that stuff. And then if I'm guessing here, because it's what I think, if they say you take charge,
bang, go ahead.
It's an investment level.
And it also it tells me a little bit too about the person. Not that I try to assume or read too much into things, but you can hear in tone and in tenor. You can hear that person that's like, no, here's what I'm looking for. And then you can also hear the person that's kind of timid and is like, no, I'll listen to what you have to say. And then that's the tone and tenor throughout the call, right? Like, again, in terms of the revealing at the beginning, you can feel out the personality. Like, let's be real as recruiters. What's the very next important thing that a hiring manager cares about after the skill set and stuff, right? Personality, culture fit. Are they going to be able to work with me all day, every day, work with this team, right? So as much as I can, I want to reveal their personality on this call, in a call where they're already a little bit nervous. Hence why I give them the option at the beginning, so it can reveal what I need to know, so I can make this call as seamless and smooth for this person as possible, talking about the things that they want to talk about, because I know exactly what I need to cover for my client and what I need to know to see if this is going to make sense. And normally, real stuff, these calls are like 7 to 15 minutes. But I'll also say, I have calls go for 45 minutes, and I have best friends, and I am perfectly okay. I'm not saying everybody needs to do this. I'm saying I'm open to the possibility of realizing I have my candidate on the phone. I'm open to having long calls if need be to close a candidate. I've had calls go 45 minutes, and that was my candidate.
And that's where, you can be really efficient in the call time when you start it that way. Like, you 100%. Save yourself a lot of headache from their investment. They get to reveal themselves, the personality, right? You've done the right intake, you know the role, all that stuff. It can be, as you said, 7 to 10 minutes or 45 with the right person.
Feels like the same with like a resume. Like, that's why we say 6 to 10 seconds, but it could be 10 minutes.
Yeah.
If we got who we know, we'll take whatever time it needs to keep it moving.
To do what you need to do. Good stuff. It's almost like you know what you're doing here.
A little bit, a little bit, kind of sometimes. But so again, approach. I think the biggest leap for me personally in my transformation is in my thought process and trying to get everybody to get on board is going from, like, seriously, like, selling to solving. And really understanding that I'm just, again, we keep talking about it, but it's so important. The more and more that you can get your mindset to realizing that your only job is to reveal information about this person, because you already know what you need to know. You already know what you need to say and the information you need back to see if this is going to work. the more you realize it's your curiosity that's your best tool. It's your ability to communicate with another human being on a human being level, more so than your wisdom or your knowledge of their industry, or knowing about, like, again, like even like for tech roles. Rarely do I get in some esoteric conversation about like technical aspects, because I know it's just a human being in front of me, and I just try to talk with them. So like I'm a very generalist recruiter, because I'm not afraid to get out of industry, because I recognize it's just a human being on the other side. It's one of the best ways that I've helped people transform their thinking, their messaging, and how they're able to connect with the people they actually want to connect to.
Yeah, and that's where I think a lot. I love that you just said that, because it's a good talking point. A lot of people I talk to are like, "Well, I can do anything," and I'm like, "That's great that you feel like you can have a conversation with anyone. That's extremely important part of being effective
Yeah.
at the actual delivery part of the job. But for your marketing, it's less effective, and that's like the
Why?
nuance, because there's 20,000 agencies in the US and hundreds, probably 100,000 in the world,
Yeah.
right? I'm assuming I can look up a Sales Navigator and verify, or someone can for
Mhm.
me. But that's like, all right,
Wow.
well, I get hit up all the time in marketing when they don't know you because you haven't engaged in the conversation. What recruiters are saying is, I'm great at having conversations with candidates and clients, and sometimes that's true. Sometimes there's a little bit to work on, but it's the sales and marketing is completely different in how you come across. It's you That's what you want, the niche, because people need clarity. I can get a generalist recruiter, I can Google, I could go Airtech or whatever. That's not hard. But someone that's a specialist that knows how to have a conversation with anyone, any type of candidate, any role, any person in my organization, well, now that's a recruiter you want to work with, right? And that's what you're really saying. So just know the difference. And that's great to be able to have that confidence in your abilities. But the market does not care until you give
That
them
is
a
correct.
reason to care, and no one pays more for a generalist than they do for a specialist.
Ooh, that's a great point. So I have to sit with that. That's a no. That's a solid point. In terms of, just even from the cohort of people that we have in our group right now in Digital Recruiter, what are what are some of the what are some of the places where people can get wins in their messaging? Again, because we talk about it like, it's email campaigns, it's your messaging in LinkedIn DMs, it's your text messages, it's your calls with candidates and how you communicate. Where,
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Where's the
Well,
all
what?
the
Yeah. Well, what I said even on my post. I mean, messaging in a vacuum doesn't, like, how much. Look how much work you put into your stories. Everything else besides just the actual message that went out. There's so many different layers to even him seeing your profile as being a recruiter and competent, and you post content. You do that with a great message that's relevant to him. That's also part of the reason why he responded, right? So just having the awareness to know how you could be
good
potentially
point.
perceived.
A great message, a great message on LinkedIn will get somebody to look at your profile. And that's what we want.
And then what do they see?
And then what do they see? Which is your messaging. What are you communicating? Because
Is
to
it
your point, Clark, you always say this, and I love it, and I'll let you go. You always say that your profile is your
connection message?
so like you're always communicating something to someone.
Yeah.
There are people looking at your profile all the time without your knowledge, right? What are you communicating? What's the message they're getting from your profile?
And that's why I recommend what I've seen work over and over, especially if you can automate anything, is no message, no connection message when it's you're prospecting for business. Let the profile do the work. Right. So build up the profile. And
What's
we've just seen it with rates, because it's hard to not come off as salesy.
what's
Unless you really personalize every single one, or you get really clever, but that takes a lot of skill to be clever and clear.
Yes, yes.
And most people just aren't ready for it or don't have the
They're
time for it.
not.
Like, I don't have the time for that.
No. No.
So
100%.
I can be clever in a follow up, or I always say a
Yes.
personalized
Yes.
second message when they
After you
reply.
establish. Yep.
Right. But for candidate and sourcing, would almost always do a connection
Clear.
message because it's a huge
100%.
opportunity because it's a free service to the
100%.
candidates. So you let the profile do a lot of the talking,
Yeah.
but the connection is there to tempt them, right? As you use that word, which is brilliant. It's like, hey, would you like to learn more? Or do you want to just stay connected? Kind of that tone, and then that line right before shows how well you've qualified the job and how good the job is, right? Why would someone want to work here? And that's what you're framing in that line. You get 300 characters, you make the most of it, and
Yeah.
you save thousands on in-mails. Not that there's anything wrong with having recruiter, but you can just start with that. Right? We have a solo recruiter that started this month with us. He's
There
2
we
weeks
go.
in. He's killing it. I was talking to him this morning. He's like, "Oh, what tools do I get? CRM, ATS." I'm like, you don't need anything for at least 2-3
Wait,
months.
real quick, because I was going to ask you. Do you have any specific situations? What was this person's? What was his problem? What
Okay.
was coming into like?
Yeah, so he started 2 weeks ago. He non-compete was up, building his agency from scratch, but he has a network, but he hasn't done anything in a year because it's non-compete. And gonna be accounting and finance focused. So there's a ton of clients that need help
Mm,
in accounting and finance. It's a huge need. Um, and he picked up a role already from his network and all that, qualified it, is working on a staff account. He's like, all right, I got a source, I gotta get tools, I get all this stuff, right? That's like the mode he went in. Get all these tools. And, my old company, we had unlimited recruiter in mails and all that. I was like,
mm.
yeah, and that made you were spoiled. And I actually had this conversation with a few people this week.
Real quick, sorry,
Yeah.
because that's also we hear that so much. Why do you know why people feel like they need the tools? Like, is there like?
Because they haven't been challenged to do it without them. And it's actually you get spoiled.
You get spoiled.
Right? It's like living in the castle versus having to hunt for your own food.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Like, when you're out in the wild, I mean, you're like a zoo animal versus being a jungle cat. Like, when you're in the cushy agency, people are paying for your tools. I could just waste another in-mail. So you haven't actually gotten better at your messaging. You just rely on using more resources and more volume that you're burning through leads. So I was like, you have the clients.
Yep.
More content for you is going to draw in more clients because we see it work time and time again, especially in accounting and finance. As long as you have the right connections, and he's got a campaign going there, he's got his network. I was like, but your other campaign has got to be sourcing for this role with Dripify. You have the in-mail still, you have your network, and you've qualified a great role. Like, you don't need to reach out to hundreds of people for this. You can use everything you need is within what you already have for the $99 you paid for Sales Navigator and maybe for some Dripify, right? So it's like, now it's about, okay, what do we know about the role? Let's spend more time sourcing, and we know the message. We already know the frameworks that are going to work, right? So it's just about them plug and play, and you don't need to do it at volume. And that's the misconception. Like, we don't encourage automation for the sake of automation and for the volume. Everything we do is with the sense of efficiency. Now, you can do that at scale.
No, yeah, it's
But
quality.
it has to be a quality volume, right? But for him, in the city that he needs a person, and it's not a hard title and all that, like, it's a good pay, good place. That's simple, right? You source 50, 100, 150 of them. You can use within the connection request limit on LinkedIn. You can still use your in-mails as a follow-up, but they don't do anything. He's got some contact and phone emails for a tool that's like $30 a month or whatever. It's not that crazy. That's all he needs. You can use Google Sheets. He's going to talk to 10, 15 people. Like, you don't need Bullhorn for that. You don't need a 2-year agreement with an ATS system. Like, you go month to month because you got to figure out your workflow too. So the tools are literally secondary once you get a couple, like once you get 2 of them.
So let me recap that. So a recruiter came in a digital recruiter program, needing help getting leads, building revenue.
Building up his business. Yeah.
Okay? Started by changing his message, his digital message, which is his profile.
Dialed in the value prop, the ICP, the profile.
Wait. Slow down. So the profile, so that we can highlight, right? So that when he communicates with people, when he's sending messages, when automation's happening, people are coming to his profile and there's the right message for his audience. Then he did that. He got his profile changed. Now his message is correct. Now, when he's doing automation and sending Dripify, people are coming and it's landing and it's connecting. But then also going in behind that, the algorithm sees that these people are communicating. He's writing content that is the right message for his audience. And that's just bolstering the message that is his profile, his direct message, and his content. And we know how many touch points does it normally take with people before? It was like 8 touch points, right? So how much faster has he made that funnel because he's understood that it has less to do with adding tech and more to do with having the right message, which is understanding your audience and doing your research on that.
Oh, and I'm going to even make it even juicier and more fun. So the content announced this post. Oh, when do I post? Do all that? I was like, it doesn't matter. He announced it Friday afternoon. It killed. He had another post this week that spoke exactly to a huge misconception that people in his industry have with job posting, right? The years of experience, a minimum of 5. Told a great story, inspired by the content workbook that has 30 plus ideas in there. It got 60 plus likes. So he's got his intro post that got 40, 50, 60 likes announcing his company. That activated his network and helped him land his first client. Okay. And then he got another post, got a ton of candidates and hiring managers liking that post. So he got to go through those connections there and the Dripify going, new connections, plus now sourcing with that as well. So he's got thousands of impressions, likes, a ton of warm signals on leads, activating his old network, being consistent, showing like, oh, he's showing up daily. He's worked on a role that's got a $15,000.
Wait, real quick, because Clark is fast. He's being consistent. He's showing up daily in these people's feed. So now they believe when he sends. So now, right? So I just like real quick, y'all.
And he's consistent with us. He has asked for tons of help too, which is as he should.
But think about LinkedIn, dude. How many people in your first connections that you see like other people's posts will get you to look at their posts, right? So now our person, I won't say his name, our person is writing content. Now 60 people like that content. Okay, I just want to also highlight this. While he's still sending messages out, which are bringing in leads, he has 60 people he has to go through, which is, again, another lead source, by the way, right? Because you got to follow up with these people.
A warm lead source.
Also, there are people coming to view his profile because they saw his content. They did not like it. They did not comment. They're called lurkers. That's also another lead source that you can follow up with.
People revealing themselves.
Of people revealing themselves on top of his DMs, on top of 4 days from now, because he's writing relevant content, because LinkedIn likes that now, the algorithm, they keep serving up his content, right?
To accounting people that have like 40 connections. So he's the only one that shows up on their feed.
And then we know that most of these people are busy at AF during the day. When do they come on? They come on the weekends. So what do you want to create that kind of content? Because now his content is in the feed always.
And LinkedIn runs stuff that's doing well for way longer, as you and I have talked about this week. And he now gets to make stuff featured and looks like he's somebody on LinkedIn. He's got a couple posts already that have 50, 60 likes. Right? You don't need to go crazy viral or anything like that. That is enough to be like, oh, there's something here that's going to bump up his connection rate and his response rate. And all like the profile is really filled out in just 2 weeks. We're 2 weeks in.
2 weeks.
The best part, the client that he qualified, their interview process is 3 interviews. They do them all in 1 day and then give an offer. So this thing could close and start by the end of April.
And then I just want to say, like,
which he'd be 6 weeks into the program.
And we talk about story, like this is not a unique story. You know, Clark, we do this a lot.
It's just the most recent one. It's fun.
Well, the part that we have to reveal to people is like, because we'll talk about this, and I totally understand how to a lot of people it's not believable because you haven't seen it yourself. But I cannot stress to people, to recruiters at home, how amazing, like just how the flywheel of, again, the right message on your profile with the right content, or again, practical, useful content, not me content, not my wins and all about me content, but actually speaking to them and their problems and things that are relevant that would make them perk up and think. Because, and I talk about this with you all the time, what we're trying to do, y'all, is we're trying to change our identity to our prospects as the person that's going to help.
Making them think, giving them new ideas, all that. You become that person to someone.
You're top of mind, are you not? When they need help?
Yeah.
Who else are you going to go to? You're going to go to Clark and Kevin because Clark and Kevin know how to message. I know exactly how they're going to reach out to candidates, right?
And in a tough candidate environment, I think he had 5 or 6 phone screens already this week while he was doing everything else. He's got more next week. He's like reactivating his old network. He's building a new one, building a presence. He showed up every single day. He's talked to you, he's talked to me, he's talked to Christina. He showed up to the group calls. He's engaging. He's studying the modules and then asking questions, like engaging. He's texting. He got the one-on-one package. He's got my number. He's texting. We're doing voice memos, phone call when we need it. Like, we get after it. And guess what? Results happen. Like, that's the believability.
I have a question for you. I'm a blockchain recruiter. Okay.
Oh, I know.
I work on the blockchain. Have y'all heard of this thing called ChatGPT AI?
I think you're gonna say AOL, but go ahead. Okay. Yeah.
Hey, question for you, Clark. Do you think it's more likely that the online world accelerates and that more recruiters are going to be needing to do this, or is it less likely, given everything we know about technology and the acceleration of where we're going?
Doing what specifically?
Being able to have a brand and landing page if you have a recruitment business for people to come to, because the online world allows you to include yourself now.
I'll put it this way. How many AI tools are out there right now?
Oh my gosh. More than every day.
Right. How many people know any of them besides ChatGPT?
Yeah.
That's a brand.
Good point. So also, right, to our person who's 2 weeks in, guess what? 2 weeks ago, nobody knew anything about him, right? If he sent them
his current network or new people,
right? And if he had sent them a message, he was just a dude who sent them a message.
Like, wait, what are you doing? What are you up to? Yeah.
He wasn't that person that they've seen in the feed 4 times. He wasn't that person that they saw their friend like their comment. He wasn't that person that they that sent them a message. He wasn't that person that they quickly saw his page and now they see him everywhere. But that's what happens. That's how you get believability with your network. People just see you everywhere. So they start to believe you are who you say. You got to make people aware.
Yeah.
And that's what this is.
You do that, the money follows.
Oh my God. And look, sometimes it does take a little bit of time, but my golly geez, sometimes it doesn't.
But also you feel good because you're like, oh, I'm good at this. Like, I'm doing this the right way. And the effort I'm putting in is returning so much more ROI, direct and indirectly, than with the activities I was doing before. It's so mentally freeing. Now you're going to get a whole bunch of other problems and new problems. That's okay. It's still better problems to have. When you know that you can create leads at any moment, at any day, and you know what you're looking for,
well,
it changes everything. And that leads not in a lead gen way, but like conversations with the right people every single day. When you can do that,
dude, we can give you a direct example right here. We started this live show, I think 2 months ago.
January, yeah.
Right? January, okay, 3 months ago. It wasn't until about 2 weeks ago that we both started receiving direct messages from people where the believability was there. And because we're consistent in our time and our dates, people have an expectation for how we're going to show up. And then they message us about that because we show up in the same way and at the same time.
You put yourself out there, and you have to. I mean, when it's recruiting, when it's coaching, and there's a bunch of people out there, there's a bunch of people that have gone burned by recruiters, by coaches. It's like if you put yourself out there, you build a lot of that trust of, all right, they're out there. There's some sort of accountability that makes a difference, right? Makes a huge difference.
So what do you, off the top of your head, what do you say are your 3 keys? What are a couple keys to recruiters out there transforming their messaging if right now it's not connecting with their target audience?
Get rid of your resentment.
Ooh, what does that mean?
You have to be able to let go. If something's not working or whatever, you can blame the market, you can blah, blah, blah. But you got to get rid of your resentment and figure out how to get into a good headspace.
Subject matter. That's so real. That's like a 30-minute talk right there.
Yeah.
Get rid of your resentment.
It's the number one thing. Even I've seen a couple people that signed up. I can count on one hand, but there's a lot of baggage.
Yeah.
And it's really easy for that to build up in this industry.
I'm sorry, I don't want to go on tangents. I know we're close to the end, but just like, hey, if that email campaign that you've sent 17 times didn't work the first 16.
Well, that's the definition of insanity, right?
It is, but that's what I see.
It doesn't mean you stop campaigns.
100%. It means you try something else.
Right. And you got to figure out how to ask for help. One of the hardest things I have to do, that's hard for me, is knowing when to ask for help. Now, I am willing, but I try to pull and just do so many things by myself. I always get myself in trouble when I get into that mode. It's just being able to ask for help, ask for perspective. Now, you don't have to join our program tomorrow to get that help. There are free mentors out there, I'm sure. I hope you have that network. We are just a option, a solution. We're not the only one. But get some perspective.
We're a pretty cool one, just saying.
I think we're a great one. We're not for everyone. I mean, if you're here at this time, we might actually very well be for you. If you're still with us 50, 50
if you're not about doing the work, we are not for you, promise.
Yeah, but it's like, I think a lot of recruiters do work hard. But working smarter in recruiting, I have had to learn that from so many people. Like, if I try to do all that by myself, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, not a chance.
Like, is there some signal that you have that lets you know, like, when to ask for help? Is there, like, sitting with the pain long enough of some sort, or have you noticed anything?
Yeah, wouldn't I feel like I'm overwhelmed and I can't even think straight?
Yeah,
because there's like too much going on, and I got to go to a couple people in my corner that are just like, hey, I just need to like throw stuff at the wall with you for like a couple hours because I know you get me, you get business, like all that stuff, and like, what am I missing here? Like, I need that perspective, and by all accounts, like I'm not the most successful person out there, but like I've come a long way in 3 years. That still happens. Like, I still have that. I have my free mentors. I have paid stuff, like all that. A lot of that is more like consultants, but like I have to.
Yeah.
It's otherwise that would be, I don't know. I go nuts. I go insane. And now every investment is, if it's paid, it's sometimes it isn't the right timing. Sometimes you don't have the cash flow.
Yeah.
Sometimes it stress you out too much to make that investment.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And so go listen to these things for free. Listen to the podcast. Like, get coach yourself up, right? Or get coach. Like, that's okay. Like, there's no shame in not being able to make an investment on a coaching program or working with me one-on-one or whatever. That's fine, but get the outlet some way, somehow, because you can get that perspective from people that know it, that have been there, that you can trust, and that know you, right? And allow yourself to be coached and to hear that perspective, and don't be defensive. Don't take it personally, right? Get rid of the resentment and don't take things personally, right? It is business at the end of the day. It doesn't mean you can't have a personal component or have a heart or be compassionate or have passion or excited about what you do and have energy, but you got to leave the resentment at the door, and you can't take things personally. Honestly, that's the first step of a great message, because then you can really focus on the other side, as you said brilliantly, the first half of this live. You can start focusing on them, and then the creativity will start to flow, and you'll have a positive attitude, and you'll be in that space where you have to create the space for success.
So that's actually step 1, 2, and 3. Step 1, 2, and 3. if I'm going to be honest as I possibly can, the moment this all transformed for me was the moment I was able to step outside myself, and it came with like a lot of eating my pride, that it's not about me. And we talk about that, right? We do talk about that. But it's hard when you are the center of your universe, as we all are, and I totally get it. It is really hard to realize that you being the center of your universe is actually you helping other people.
Yeah, because in recruiting, you're not gold, you're not silver, you're bronze.
Correct.
Right? Your candidates, your clients are above you on the podium.
That's a great.
That's why it's weird. It's like a weird adjustment.
I like that.
Right. And as soon as you're like, oh, I'm like, great, that was all me. It's just like, you can be great. It could probably, it wouldn't have happened without you, but it's not about you.
Ooh, I like that. If there is, so
I clip this last like 10 minutes. I don't know. Did I just black out or something? What happened?
And if I could give y'all, so look, I do have look, I'm going to keep it real. I highly suggest, if you are struggling with messaging, struggling with connecting with prospects, struggling with accelerating your revenue in your business when it comes to content, automation, or sales, I highly suggest you talk to us. I really do. We are very empathetic and authentic, as we said. We do have a lot of personality. It's like our 3 pillars. But no, seriously, we'd be happy to discuss it with you. But short of that, I'd like to give you 2 things. As I was thinking about today's talk, I try to give takeaways. And if I could give y'all 2 takeaways before you come to us to let you know and believe that what I say is true, it's 2 books I would highly recommend you read. And it will let you know that everything that we talk about is real. And I bet it'll transform your thinking on how to reach and make your prospects believe you are who you say you are. The 2 books, ready? Number 1, Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller.
So good.
And number 2, Influence by Robert Cialdini. Sales is all about human psychology. The reality is, yes, we are doing it in a good way, but we are manipulating people with what we're doing. It is not a nice word, but it is what we're doing. We are influencing decision making. You read Influence, you're going to learn how to do it. Read Story Brand, and you're going to realize the problems we solve are internal, not external. Hence, get rid of the resentment.
Well, and just make sure that that's why you have to have confidence, your value prop, that you're solving a problem they need to be solved. That needs to be solved. But you got to know that they're getting attacked from all different directions too. And so that's where Kevin uses that word. It's a double-edged sword, right? We always think of it as a negative, but it can be a positive as well, right? It's like telling a 10-year-old, it's like telling Wyatt, like, hey, don't touch the fireplace. Like, it's not good for you. I got to convince him. It's like, he doesn't know. We got to learn that. So,
100%.
That's like uneducated prospects are very similar, right? Or untrained, or they just don't know. Like, they literally just don't know. And the last thing I'll say on messaging is always remember that. Over communicate, super clear, assume they don't know. Whether it's an initial message, it could be a client that you've talked to 100 times.
Yep.
And that they're busy, they're all this, they're all that, and they just need things laid out clearly. Right? Your emails and your follow-ups, your messages should take time. They should take brain calories, as Kevin always says. Go ahead.
Again, I'll give you last example. Literally this morning, I text message with my client. That's how we communicate. That's how they prefer how to communicate. So I text message with them everything. They have 2 interviews coming up. They like everything through text message, no email. They have 2 interviews coming up. I sent them the 2 interviews with resumes in the text, but I thought maybe they're going to have their computer open. So I sent them an email with said 2 resumes just in case they're on their computer. You know how thankful they were this morning because they were actually on their computer and didn't want to go to their phone to send it to their email to send it. It's like, again, thinking about it is. I guarantee those are the little things as to why they're going to give me more.
Because, you have an opportunity to prove yourself as thoughtful, and that's invaluable in business.
And in this game where it's client and like that's it.
Thoughtfulness is like a whole other topic, man.
That's
a
actually what we should do
whole
next
other
time.
topic.
That should be next time, thoughtfulness, because I'm not gonna lie. I think we're really freaking good at that part. Like,
It can be a burden a little bit, but it's a necessary one.
It's what I feel like ultimately is the reason why I'm successful, to be honest.
It's thoughtfulness is that's a really good. That's a good one. That's a good way to end. Dude, this was interesting. This was an interesting ride
episode or something. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's Good Friday, so I don't think I don't think people are as active on LinkedIn today or whatever. Hope we can catch the replay.
Bradley was here. Hey, yo,
Bradley's here.
Appreciate you,
dude. Bradley's the man.
Again, see y'all on the podcast. See y'all on the replay.
Oh yeah, I gotta make that post. I did the podcast with Masood, who he founded Rafa, which is really interesting. It's kind of like audio submittals and audio screens, even reducing phone time a lot of time with candidates, being efficient, effective, all that good stuff. What's up, Luke? I got to get back to you. I know you replied to me, Luke. I had to check in on him, see how he's doing. A good Friday show. Yeah, appreciate it, Bradley.
Appreciate you.
Yeah,
Thank
man.
You, Ben. Okay.
Yeah.
There's some
here. Dude, you haven't met Ben. Ben Navarro is an awesome guy. He was one of the first digital recruiters. He's awesome. Dude, Luke, have a great weekend.
Yes.
Everyone took the day off, but Bradley's got work to do. Oh man, he's getting the bug.
Consistency, building believability. I see you, Bradley.
Getting the bug.
Bro, you are the most. I appreciate everybody, but Bradley, you're the most consistent.
Yeah. He's our Cal Ripken.
He's the OG. Yeah, he's the OG.
He's our Cal Ripken. Iron Man. Really, he's so he just soaks it up and he goes and tries to implement and does everything he can do. So
I'll always support that.
But
dude, this is my favorite part of the week. Don't tell my kids or my wife, but it has been great.
Yeah.
Thank you, dude. Happy Friday, man. Dude, Happy Friday, everybody.
You as well, brother. And everyone have a great weekend.
Bradley, thank you.
We'll be back Monday at 2 p.m. I got to update that LinkedIn banner to show the showtime so everyone knows. We'll fix that. And someone told me my banner looked scammy yesterday. So now I apparently definitely have to change it. No, I don't care what you think. But
I laughed. And then I went straight to your banner to look at it. And I was like, oh, no. But okay.
Kind of looks like we're in space. I think it's fun, but whatever. That's stopped us. No, this is great. It was fun. Good weekend, y'all. And we'll see you Monday.
That's right.